in that country. When you have the cybersecurity that the PLA has been involved with, those are great and major issues, both morally and security-wise, that we've got to deal with now.
All right, we got to keep it brief, but go ahead, Governor Romney.
Yeah. Rick is, in my view, is right with regards to long-term security interest, and that's China, although that's very much on our agenda. Immediately, the most significant threat is, of course, Iran becoming nuclear. But I happen to think Senator Santorum is right with regards to the issue that doesn't get enough attention. That's the one that may come up that we haven't thought about, which is Latin America. Because, in fact, Congressman, we have been attacked. We were attacked on 9/11. There have been dozens of attacks that have been thwarted by our security forces. And we have right now Hezbollah, which is working throughout Latin America, in Venezuela, in Mexico, throughout Latin America, which poses a very significant and imminent threat to the United States of America.
Thank you, Governor. Mr. Cain.
Having been a ballistics analyst and a computer scientist early in my career, cyber attacks. That's something that we do not talk enough about, and I happen to believe that that is a national security area that we do need to be concerned about.
Speaker Gingrich.
I helped create the Hart-Rudman Commission with President Clinton, and they came back after 3 years and said the greatest threat to the United States was a weapon of mass destruction in an American city, probably from a terrorist. That was before 9/11. That's one of the three great threats. The second is an electromagnetic pulse attack, which would literally destroy the country's capacity to function. And the third, as Herman just said, is a cyber attack. All three of those are outside the current capacity of our system to deal with.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Well, I would agree with what my colleagues said up here on the stage. And also, we need to remember, we won the peace in Iraq. And now President Obama is intentionally choosing to give that peace away. This is a significant issue because we're taking the terrorist threat away from the Middle East, bringing it to the United States. We talked about al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab is real. In my home state of Minnesota, we've just had 2 convictions of 2 women that are financing terror with al-Shabaab. This threat, I believe, now is in the United States. And now the threat has come home, and that's what we have to deal with.
Governor Huntsman?
I guess I could say China because I know a little bit about the subject matter, but they're in for real trouble ahead. So I have to say that our biggest problem is right here at home. And you can see it on every street corner. It's called joblessness. It's called lack of opportunity. It's called debt that has become a national security problem in this country. And it's also called a trust deficit. Congress that nobody believes in anymore, an executive branch that has no leadership, institutions of power that we no longer believe in. How can we have any effective foreign policy abroad when we are so weak at home? We have no choice. We got to get on our feet here domestically.
Thank you to all of you, and thanks to all of you as well. We have to leave it right there. We want to thank our partners, the American Enterprise Institute. We want to thank the Heritage Foundation. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Wolf Blitzer here at Constitution Hall. The news continues next. Our coverage continues right here on CNN.
To Anderson Cooper's 360 post-debate coverage. I'm John King. In for Anderson tonight, the CNN Republican national security debate just wrapped up here in Washington. We're at Constitution Hall, just steps from the White House. Live now with both the winners and the losers, the moments everyone will be talking about, and analysis from our excellent panel tonight. Joining us as soon as he can be freed up from his responsibilities, the Situation Room's Wolf Blitzer, who did a fabulous job moderating tonight's debate. Our senior political analyst and former advisor to 4 presidents, David Gergen. CNN political contributor and Democratic strategist Donna Brazile, CNN political contributor Ari Fleischer, of course, the former White House press secretary for President George W. Bush, CNN contributor Dana Lash, she's the co-organizer of the St. Louis Tea Party Coalition, and CNN chief analyst Gloria Borger. Let's get right to it. A spirited debate about national security issues, some disagreements between the candidates, a libertarian-conservative divide over the Patriot Act passed after 9/11, some differences on immigration as well. Let's go straight down to the floor and David Gergen. David Gergen, your quick first impression on what we heard from these 8 Republican candidates tonight.
I don't have any sound. I'm not hearing anything.
David's having a bit of an audio problem there. Let's go out to Dana Lash. Dana Lash is a conservative who has watched the Republican race have Mitt Romney at the top of the pack, but then a host of other conservatives come up as what I'll call the anybody but Romney candidate. It was former Speaker Newt Gingrich who came in at least tied, if not slightly ahead nationally tonight. Your first impression on what we learned from these 8 Republican candidates?
I think there were a couple of really explosive parts of this debate for me, and the first one was obviously Iran. I thought that Perry and Gingrich sort of led the way with strategy when it comes to Iran, but the thing that sort of blew up in Newt Gingrich's face, I think, was the discussion on immigration, and he kind of had a Rick Perry heartless moment with this. I think this is going to really impact him tomorrow. It's really going to impact him with grassroots conservatives. I can see kind of both sides of the argument here. He was really Reagan-esque when he mentioned this, because in 84, 86, Reagan signed a huge amnesty bill, but I don't think that he made that differentiation during the debate. That's going to come back and hurt him. But ultimately, I think that this was one of the most substantive debates. We really were able to see a lot of different sides of the candidates on this particular issue. Ron Paul did surprisingly well on a couple of different parts. Perry talked more than normal, so it was good. I think Gingrich ultimately probably looked one of the best.
Dana, stand by. We're going to get more analysis. As you can see from the pictures, the candidates are shaking hands here in the hall. Dana just mentioned potentially a tough moment for Newt Gingrich. A strong debate performance overall, but did he get in trouble with conservatives with his answer on immigration, saying we're never going to expel the 10, 11 or so million illegal immigrants who are in the United States illegally? Gloria Borger standing by right now with the former Speaker of the House. Gloria, take it away.
Here I am with former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. What do you think of the debate tonight and your own performance?
I thought it was terrific. I told Blitzer this was 2 in a row. He's done very, very well, and I thought it was a very balanced and a very well-managed debate. People got to really talk about ideas.
Let me ask you, one thing that came up at the end of the debate was the question of immigration. And you said that Americans want to be humane about immigration, that they essentially don't want to throw people out who've been in this country for a number of years.
I was drawing a distinction. There are lots of people who will go home. There are millions who will go home. They have no ties here. They have no roots. But there are also millions who are going to end up staying. And I can't imagine any serious person who can walk down the street, see somebody they've known for 20 years, and say, you're leaving your family, you're leaving your church, you're leaving the community you've been in now for 20 or 25 years, and we're kicking you out forcibly.
Well, let me tell you what Michele Bachmann's campaign put out something immediately, which I got on my BlackBerry, which said that Newt Gingrich is opening the door to amnesty. What would your response to that be?
That is just totally inaccurate. What I've said is the Kriebel Foundation is a very good program for legalization without citizenship for people who've been here a long time. Now, I want to say go home to lots of people. I want to create a border that's controlled. I want a guest worker program outsourced to American Express or Visa or MasterCard. I want English as the official language of government. I'm willing to be tough, but I'm not willing to kid people. And I can't imagine any serious person here in this country who believes we're going to tear families apart that have been here 20 or 25 years.
Do you think the Republican Party has hurt itself with the Hispanic community because there might be that perception?
Sure, I think it makes it, it's not just the Hispanic community, but we have people who come to America from the whole planet. I think Governor Romney had it right tonight when he said, we favor immigration, we favor legal immigration. We actually would have more opportunity for people who are talented to stay, and it's frankly the Democratic Party and the labor unions who block that. So, I mean, it's a mixed bag, but I think it's important because I think somebody up here is going to be president. And I think that hopefully it's going to be me, but one of us is going to be. It's important for us to unify the country by having an honest conversation, not just a series of slogans.
And can you reflect on this? Here you are standing saying, I think it's going to be me. But last summer, if I recall, your campaign was imploding and your staff was leaving you, and here you are. And can you sort of reflect upon that for a minute about what's happened?
It's a little bit like Mark Twain. I think the reports of my death were premature, which is what he said when somebody wrote an obituary before he died. All of our core staff stayed. Callista and I had a team that we'd assembled over the years. They all stayed except for one person. The professional politicians all left because I don't run a traditional campaign. I run a very idea-oriented, very positive campaign.
What happened?
Now?
Yes. Why are you where you are?
I think that what's happened is people want substance. They want exactly the conversation you and I just had, exactly what this debate was like. They really know the country's in trouble, and they really want to have a serious person who is willing to talk through at a level of detail that's real and not just political slogans.
And one last question. Looking at the folks around you on the podium tonight, who is it going to come down to, you and who else, do you think?
Well, look, I always think that Governor Romney will be one of the two two finalists. He has the money. He's run before. He's got a tremendous base in New Hampshire. So if it does come down to two people, I hope I'm one of the two, but I'm absolutely certain the other one will be Mitt Romney, because he has 5 years of campaigning, and that gives you an enormous base.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for being with us after this debate. John?
Gloria, thanks. Good catch grabbing the former Speaker of the House there, Newt Gingrich. He was one of the strong performers in tonight's debate, but we'll check in with the rest of our panel in a moment. We'll see if they agree with Dana Lash that his remark at the end on immigration could hurt him with conservative. First, though, let's take a look at some of the most memorable moments from the just-wrapped-up debate.
I think the Patriot Act is unpatriotic because it undermines our liberty. I'm concerned, as everybody is, about the terrorist attack. Timothy McVeigh was a vicious terrorist. He was arrested. I have a personal belief that you never have to give up liberty for security. You can still provide security without sacrificing our Bill of Rights.
Do you want to respond, Mr. Speaker?
Yeah. Timothy McVeigh succeeded. That's the whole point. Timothy McVeigh killed a lot of Americans. I want a law that says, you try to take out an American city, we're going to stop you.
Is it okay for Muslim Americans to get more intensive pat-downs or security when they go through airports than Christian Americans or Jewish Americans?
No, Blitz, that's oversimplifying it. I happen to believe that if you allow our intelligence agencies to do their job, they can come up with an approach. I'm sorry, Blitz, I meant Wolf, okay? Blitz, Wolf.
Thank you, Cain.
We haven't done a very good job defining and articulating what the end point is in Afghanistan. I think the American people are getting very tired about where we find ourselves today.
Let me let Governor Romney respond.
Let me respond. Are you suggesting, Governor, that we just take all our troops out next week? Or what's your proposal?
Did you hear what I just said? I said we should draw down from 100,000. We don't need 100,000 troops. We don't need 100,000 troops in it. Many of whom can't even cross the wire. We need a presence on the ground that is more akin to 10 or 15,000.
President Ahmadinejad came to the UN General Assembly. He said that he wanted to eradicate Israel from the face of the earth. He has said that if he has a nuclear weapon, he will use it to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. He will use it against the United States of America. And that's why President Obama has failed the American people. He has changed the course of history because at the time when we needed a leader most, we didn't have one.
Congressman Paul, what they're doing is cutting $1 trillion out of the defense budget. We need to protect America and protect our troops and our military and stop the idea of Obamacare. That's the best way to save money, not the military.
But hold on one second, because Ron Paul wants to respond to that point.
Well, they're not cutting anything out of anything. All this talk is just talk. Believe me.
I don't think anybody is particularly surprised that a super committee failed. It was a super failure. This president has been an absolute failure when it came to this budget process.
This president has poisoned the well. He's campaigned all over this country, trying to divide group from group in order to win, to position himself to win this election, to rally his troops. And what he's done is poisoned the well here in Congress.
Some of the highlights there from tonight's debate. This was the 11th debate among and between the Republican candidates for president. Michele Bachmann back at our first debate at CNN in June. After that strong performance skyrocketed in the polls. She has struggled since. How does she rate her performance tonight? The Minnesota Congresswoman, the conservative Tea Party favorite, standing by right now live with Gloria Borger. Gloria?
Thanks so much, John. Thank you for being with us, Congresswoman. I was most interested in your comments on Pakistan. You said that Pakistan is too nuclear to fail, and you criticized Governor Perry as naive when he talked about foreign aid to Pakistan, essentially saying that we shouldn't write any more blank checks.
Well, and with Pakistan, we don't necessarily write blank checks. We deal with It's been a long night. Thank you for your understanding. No, we deal with intelligence services and exchanges with them, and we gain information on Al-Qaeda, although there's more things that we need. Pakistan is a very imperfect partner in dealing with national affairs and national security. And one thing that we realize about them is that they are a very fragile country. They have a thin veneer of a government that's holding them together, and yet you have the epicenter of terrorism right there